Exactly 60 days after the council vote, Ambassador Hyun-woo stood before the Galactic Assembly one final time. Behind him, the last official human delegation prepared to leave the galactic capital. The alien representatives watched with satisfaction.
Believing they had successfully removed the human threat from their peaceful galaxy, we have completed our withdrawal from all registered human territories, Hyun-woo announced to the assembled delegates. His voice was calm and respectful, as promised.
We are returning to our home system. We thank the Council for allowing us time to organize our departure. The Council speaker nodded approvingly. Your cooperation has been noted. The Exile Order is now in full effect. Humanity is restricted to the Sol system. All galactic territories are closed to human presence. What Hyun-woo did not mention was that the registered territories were only a small fraction of where humans actually lived and worked. For 30 years, while publicly following galactic law, humans had been secretly establishing colonies in unexplored regions of space as the last human diplomats left the capital. Captain Yoon-ji was receiving reports from across the galaxy from her command center on a hidden moon base that existed in a star system not marked on any galactic charts. Phoenix Command, this is Ghost Base 7. She reported to Captain Jin A back on Earth. We have successfully relocated 300,000 humans to Sector 12. All installations are operational and undetectable by galactic sensors. Ghost Base 7 was just one of 47 secret installations that humans had built over the past 3 decades. Each base was hidden in asteroid fields, rogue planets, or empty space between star systems. The aliens had no idea these places existed. The secret bases were not simple refugee camps. They were fully equipped cities with manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, and military installations. Each base could support thousands of people and produce advanced technology. Engineer Taeho supervised the final setup of manufacturing complex Delta 9, built inside a massive asteroid that had been hollowed out over 15 years. Our production capacity is now online, he reported to the base commander. We can build ships, weapons, and equipment faster than any galactic facility. The manufacturing complex contained technology that was generations ahead of anything in the galactic fleet. Humans had spent decades studying alien technology, not just using it, but improving it. The hidden factories could produce ships that were faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. But the most important secret was not the hidden bases themselves. It was the network of relationships that connected them. Diplomat Yeon-soo had spent 20 years building contacts with aliens who opposed the Council or had their own grievances against galactic authority. The vote was not unanimous. She reminded her intelligence team, during a secure communication from her base on a hidden planet, 9 worlds voted against our exile. 12 others refused to vote. That gives us 21 potential allies. Her first major contact was Ambassador Torvex from the Andromedan Collective. The Andromedans had always believed the Council was too controlling and harsh in its treatment of younger species. My government officially supports the exile decision, Torvex said during a secret meeting on a neutral trading station. But many of us privately disagree. We believe the Council made a serious mistake. Yeon-soo leaned forward. We would appreciate any assistance you could provide. Information about Council activities, communication channels, safe passage for our people. Torvex nodded. We can arrange for certain information to reach you through unofficial channels. We can also ensure that some trade routes remain open to human merchants operating under false identities. Similar meetings were taking place across the galaxy. Human agents were activating sleeper networks that had been built over decades. The aliens had intended to isolate humanity, but instead they had driven humans to create the most effective underground organization in galactic history. The network included sympathetic aliens who opposed the Council, corrupt officials who could be bribed or blackmailed, and idealistic species who believed in freedom and justice. Many of these aliens had their own reasons for wanting to see the Council weakened on the trade world of Nexus Prime. So Jin was coordinating with a group of alien smugglers who had grown rich from human connections. The Korthan smuggler Nexdal was particularly useful. Your people taught us new trade routes and introduced us to profitable contacts, he told So Jin. We owe you a debt that we intend to repay. So Jin smiled. We may call upon that debt sooner than you think. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place. What Nextal did not know was that So Jin had already provided him with detailed information about Council patrol schedules, security weaknesses, and supply depot locations. The smugglers thought they were helping human refugees, but they were actually becoming part of a growing resistance movement. Meanwhile, the Council was beginning to realize that something was seriously wrong. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy about system failures, supply shortages, and economic disruptions. Council Speaker Vextar reviewed the crisis reports with growing alarm. Food production has dropped 40% on agricultural worlds, he told his emergency council. Trade efficiency is down 60%. Military equipment is failing without human maintenance. The councilors had assumed that other species could easily replace human workers and specialists. They were discovering that humans had not just been employees in galactic civilization, they had been the invisible engineers who kept everything running smoothly. But the most disturbing reports were about the mysterious attacks on Council facilities. Remote outposts were being destroyed, cargo convoys were disappearing, and supply depots were being raided by unknown forces. General Newell Dan studied the attack reports with growing fear. These are not random pirate raids, he concluded. Someone is systematically targeting our weakest points. They know our patrol routes, our supply schedules, our defensive capabilities. The attackers used tactics that were brilliantly planned and perfectly executed. They struck fast and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Their ships used technology that seemed familiar, but no alien sensors could identify the vessel. Design's Admiral Koth Ra of the Galactic Fleet was particularly troubled by the attacks. The raiders are using stealth technology that is more advanced than anything in our fleet, he reported. They appear and disappear without warning. Their weapons are more powerful than our best military equipment. The truth was that the attacks were being coordinated from the hidden human bases. Captain Yun-ji commanded a fleet of ships that had been secretly built over the past decade, using improved alien technology. Strike Team Alpha. This is Ghost Command, she transmitted to a group of human. Raiders target the supply depot at coordinate 77 Mark IV. Intelligence reports it contains weapon shipments for 3 Council worlds. The human raiders were not pirates seeking profit. They were strategically weakening the Council by disrupting supply lines, destroying military assets, and demonstrating that the galaxy was no longer safe for those who had exiled humanity. Commander Do-yoon led one of the most daring raids against a Council military installation. His team used stealth ships to approach undetected, then struck with precision that left the facility completely destroyed. Mission accomplished, he reported to Ghost Command Installation 7. 7 is eliminated. No survivors to report our involvement. All equipment salvaged for our own use. The raids were sending a clear message to the galaxy. The humans had not gone quietly into exile. They had transformed themselves into something the aliens had never expected, a ghost empire that could strike anywhere and vanish without a trace. As reports of the attacks spread, some alien worlds began to question the wisdom of the exile decision. The Peaceful Worlds Alliance, which had voted against the exile, began to speak publicly about their concerns. Perhaps we were too hasty in our decision, said Ambassador Kilmer of the Alliance. The humans accepted their exile peacefully, but these attacks suggest we may have made enemies instead of removing a threat. Other aliens began to whisper that the Council had made a terrible mistake. They had not gotten rid of the human problem. They had made it infinitely worse. The humans were no longer bound by galactic law. They no longer had to pretend to be peaceful. They no longer had to hide their true capabilities. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity could accomplish when it stopped trying to fit in and started fighting back. The Great Hall was silent except for the soft hum of alien technology. The massive room could hold thousands of beings, and today it was full. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat in their special chairs. Each species had their own section with lighting and air that matched their home planets. Ambassador Hyun-woo sat in the human section near the back. His dark suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and strange armor worn by the alien delegates. Around him sat the other human representatives. Their faces showed worry, but they tried to look calm. The vote had been going on for 3 hours. Every world got to speak about why humans should or should not be exiled from galactic civilization. The reasons were always the same: humans were too violent, too quick to fight, too dangerous to trust with advanced technology. Yunwu had heard it all before during the months of debate. The Zeridian delegate spoke about human wars. The Altarian representative mentioned human weapons. The Corthan ambassador talked about human aggression. Each alien painted humans as monsters who would destroy the peaceful galaxy. Now it was time for the final vote. The council speaker stood at the center of the hall. It was a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms. Its voice echoed through the chamber without any emotion. Each world was called to vote. The electronic board at the front of the hall lit up with each decision. Green meant humans could stay. Red meant exile. Yellow meant the world chose not to vote at all. Yunwu watched the board fill with colors, his heart beat faster with each new red light. The human delegation sat quietly. They had expected this outcome, but seeing it happen was still hard. Altair Prime voted red exile. Zeridia voted red exile. Corthan voted red exile. A few worlds voted green. The Andromedan Collective had always been friendly to humans. The Peaceful Worlds Alliance believed in second chances. But these green votes were not enough. The final count appeared on the board. 38 worlds voted for exile. 9 worlds voted against it. 8 worlds chose not to vote. The decision was clear. The council speaker raised all 4 arms for silence. The hall became quiet enough to hear alien hearts beating. The motion to exile Earth from galactic civilization passes by a margin of 38 to 9. Humanity has been deemed too dangerous to remain part of our peaceful alliance. The words hit the human delegation like a physical blow. Some of the younger diplomats looked like they might cry. Others clenched their fists in anger. But Hyun-woo remained calm. He had been preparing for this moment. The speaker continued. All human settlements, colonies, and outposts in galactic territory must be abandoned. All human citizens must return to the Sol system. All human access to galactic technology, trade routes, and communication networks is hereby terminated. An alien delegate from the Vegan Confederacy stood up. When will this exile begin? The speaker looked toward the human section. When are you prepared to leave? This was the moment Hyun-woo had been waiting for. He stood slowly. All eyes in the hall turned to him. The silence was complete. We understand your decision, he said. His voice was steady and clear. We will not contest this vote. We will not beg or plead or threaten. We accept the will of the galactic community. Surprised whispers filled the hall. Most exiled species fought the decision. They argued or made threats or promised to change. But humans were different. We ask only for time to prepare our departure. Hyun-woo continued. 60 days to gather our people and return to our home system. We have settlements scattered across many worlds. It will take time to organize the evacuation. The council speaker seemed pleased by this reasonable request. 60 days is acceptable. Your species has 60 days to complete your withdrawal from all galactic territories. Thank you, Hyun-woo said. He bowed slightly to the speaker, then turned to face the entire assembly. You have made your choice and we respect it. But remember this day. When you realize what you have lost, do not say we did not warn you. The human delegates began to file out of the hall as they walked past. Alien representatives, some aliens looked ashamed, others looked relieved. A few looked worried, like they were starting to understand they had made a mistake. As soon as Hyun-woo left the hall, he activated a small device hidden in his sleeve. It sent a coded message across the galaxy to a secret location on Earth. The message was simple. Plan Exodus begins now on Earth in a hidden command center deep beneath the city of Seoul. Captain Jin Ai sat at a desk covered with computer screens. She had been waiting for this message for months. Her team of specialists worked around her, monitoring communications from across the galaxy. The message arrived as a series of musical notes that sounded like a traditional Korean song, but Jin Ai knew the real meaning. She stood up and walked to the center of the room. All stations. This is Phoenix Command, she announced. Her team stopped what they were doing and listened. The council has voted. We are officially exiled. Begin immediate evacuation of all. Registered human settlements proceed to Phase 2 locations. Her communications officer began sending messages to human settlements across the galaxy. But these were not the settlements the aliens knew about. These were secret colonies that had been hidden for years. Mining Station 7. This is Phoenix Command. Begin evacuation immediately. Agricultural colony. 12. Prepare for immediate departure. Research outpost. 9. Implement emergency protocols. As the messages went out, Jin A.A. smiled. The aliens thought they knew where all the humans lived. They thought they had forced humanity back to one small corner of the galaxy. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The evacuation began within hours. Human families packed their belongings and prepared to leave worlds they had called home for decades. But they were not sad or scared. They were excited. This was the moment they had been training for on. The mining world of Kepler 7 Commander. Du-Yun oversaw the evacuation of 3,000 human workers. The alien supervisors watched as humans loaded their personal items onto transport ships. Where will you go? Asked Zek-Tar, the alien mine supervisor. He had worked with humans for 10 years and considered many of them friends. Home, Yun replied. But home is bigger than you think. The alien did not understand what he meant. He watched as the humans carefully dismantled equipment they had built and loaded it onto their ships. They took nothing that belonged to the aliens, but they left nothing useful behind. By the time the transport ships lifted off, the mining operation was crippled. The aliens had the raw materials, but none of the human engineering that made the operation profitable. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human merchants completed their final trades and said goodbye to alien business partners. Human engineers transferred their projects to alien replacements who did not fully understand the technology. Human farmers harvested their crops one last time. But something strange was happening. The humans were taking more than just their belongings. They were taking knowledge, skills, experience, relationships. Everything they had learned during their years as part of galactic civilization. On the trading world of Nexus Prime merchant captain. So Jin met with her oldest alien contact, a reptilian trader named Vos Kekai. I'm sorry to see you go, Vos Keik said. You humans have been good for business. So Jin smiled as she handed him a datapad. This contains all my trade route information and customer contacts. A gift from one merchant to another. Vos Keck was touched by the gesture. He did not realize that the datapad also contained detailed maps of every hidden supply depot, every secret trade agreement, and every weakness in the galactic economy that humans had discovered. The 60-day countdown had begun. The aliens thought they were getting rid of a problem, but they were about to discover that they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The humans were not just leaving, they were taking the future with them. 3 weeks after the council vote, strange things began happening across the galaxy. Human settlements that should have been busy with evacuation activities had gone completely silent. Alien supervisors and business partners tried to contact their human colleagues but received no answers. On Mining Station Alpha 7, the Zeridian supervisor Krell Voss woke up to an empty facility. The human quarters were clean but vacant. The mining equipment stood silent. The humans who had worked there for 15 years had vanished overnight. Krell Voss walked through the empty corridors calling out, "Hello, is anyone here?" The echo of his own voice was the only response. He checked the human sleeping areas, the dining halls, and the recreation rooms. Everything was spotless but abandoned. The strangest part was what the humans had taken and what they had left behind. All personal belongings were gone, but so was most of the advanced mining equipment. The aliens still had the basic machinery, but the sophisticated systems that made the operation profitable had disappeared. Commander Du-Yun had spent the night carefully supervising the removal of every piece of human-designed technology. His team worked in perfect coordination, dismantling systems they had built and improved over the years. Load the quantum extractors onto Transport Ship 3, he told his engineering team. Remember, we built these machines and we own the patents. The aliens can keep the holes in the ground. His second-in-command Min SEO checked items off a long list. The atmospheric processors are secured. The ore refinement systems are packed. The geological survey equipment is loaded. Duyun smiled as he watched the last transport ship lift off. The aliens would wake up to find they still had a mind but no way to operate it efficiently. The humans had taken 15 years of improvements and innovations with them. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. Human agricultural specialists disappeared from farming colonies, taking with them advanced irrigation systems and genetic modification equipment. Human engineers vanished from construction projects, leaving behind half-finished buildings but taking all the blueprints and technical knowledge on the trade world of Nexus Prime merchant captain. So Jin was playing the most dangerous game of her career. She had spent 5 years building relationships with alien traders, learning their secrets and earning their trust. Now she was using that trust to gather intelligence. The Altarian merchant Veltrak showed her through his private warehouse. "This is where I keep the restricted items," he said proudly. "Items that are not supposed to be sold to younger species." So Jin nodded and smiled while memorizing every detail. The warehouse contained advanced weapons technology, medical equipment, and communication devices that were banned from export to developing worlds. "Thank you for trusting me with this," she said. "I hope our business relationship continues. Even after my people return to Earth." Veltrak looked sad. "You humans have been good customers and good friends. I will miss doing business with you at." So Jin did not tell him was that she had been recording everything. The locations of illegal weapons, the names of corrupt officials, the details of black market operations. All of this information was being transmitted to human intelligence networks. At the same time, she was calling in favors from her network of contacts. "I need a small favor," she told a Korthan smuggler named Exile. "You owe me for that cargo I helped you move through customs." Exile nodded. "You saved me from prison. What do you need?" "Transportation for some special cargo." So Jin said, "Nothing illegal, just some personal items that need to reach a specific location." The Korthan agreed, not knowing that. So Jin's special cargo included detailed maps of every secret trade route in the sector, complete with security codes and patrol schedules. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of Terra Verde, farmer Minho was overseeing the most complex part of the human evacuation. The aliens had allowed humans to develop new farming techniques that could grow food on previously barren worlds. What they did not know was that humans had been secretly using these techniques on hidden colonies. Load all the seed banks, Minho told his team. Every genetic sample, every soil treatment, every piece of agricultural data we have developed. His assistant Yunji looked worried. "Are we really taking everything? The aliens will not be able to maintain food production without our techniques. That is not our problem anymore." Minho replied. "They wanted us gone, so we are taking our knowledge with us." The truth was that humans had revolutionized agriculture across dozens of worlds. They had developed crops that could grow in harsh conditions, created soil treatments that could terraform barren land, and designed irrigation systems that could make deserts bloom. As human agricultural teams evacuated, they took with them the genetic codes for improved crops, the formulas for soil enhancement, and the blueprints for advanced farming equipment. The aliens would soon discover that their food production would drop by 40%. But the most important evacuations were happening in places the aliens did not even know existed. Captain Yunji commanded a secret human outpost built inside a hollow asteroid that did not appear on any galactic star charts. Phoenix Command. "This is Ghost. Base 7, she reported. "All personnel and equipment are secure. We have successfully evacuated 12,000 humans from Sector 5. All installations remain undetected." The asteroid base was one of dozens of hidden facilities that humans had built over the past 20 years. While publicly following galactic law and living in approved settlements, humans had been secretly establishing colonies in unexplored regions of space. These hidden bases were not just refugee camps. They were fully equipped military and research facilities. The humans had been preparing for the possibility of exile for decades. Engineer Tai Ho supervised the final checks on the asteroid base's manufacturing systems. "Our production capacity is now triple what it was last month," he reported. "We can build ships, weapons, and equipment faster than any galactic facility." The secret was that humans had been studying alien technology for years, not just using it, but improving it. The manufacturing systems in the hidden bases could produce equipment that was generations ahead of anything in the galactic fleet. At the same time, diplomat Yan Su was activating a network of alien contacts that had taken her 15 years to build. These were aliens who opposed the council decision or who had their own reasons for wanting to work with humans in secret. The vote was not unanimous. She reminded her intelligence team. 9 worlds voted against Exile. 12 others refused to vote. That is 21 worlds that might be willing to help us. Her first contact was Ambassador Torvex from the Andromedan Collective. The Andromedans had always believed that the Council was too harsh in its treatment of younger species. My government officially supports the Exile, Torvex said during a secret meeting. But many of us privately disagree. We believe the Council made a mistake. Yun Su smiled. We would be grateful for any assistance you could provide. Information about Council military movements, communication channels, trade opportunities. Torvex nodded. We can arrange for certain information to reach you through unofficial channels. We can also ensure that some trade routes remain open to human merchants. Similar meetings were taking place across the galaxy. Human diplomats were cashing in years of relationship building. The aliens had intended to isolate humanity, but instead they had driven humans to create the galaxy's most effective underground network. As the 60-day deadline approached, reports began reaching the Galactic Council that something was wrong. Human evacuation sites were empty, but there were no signs of where the humans had gone. Supply chains that humans had managed were breaking down. Technologies that humans had maintained were failing. Council Speaker Vextar reviewed the daily reports with growing concern. Food production is falling on 12 worlds, he told his advisors. Trade efficiency has dropped 30%. Military equipment maintenance is behind schedule. The councilors had assumed that other species could easily replace human workers and specialists. They were discovering that humans had not just been employees, they had been the invisible force that kept galactic civilization running smoothly. But the most disturbing, reports were just beginning to arrive. Remote outposts were reporting strange ship sightings, cargo convoys were disappearing, supply depots were being raided by unknown attackers. The raiders used advanced tactics and technology that seemed familiar, but alien sensors could not identify their ships. The attacks were precise, surgical, and left no witnesses. General Newell Dan studied the attack patterns with growing alarm. These are not random raids, he concluded. Someone is systematically targeting our weakest points. They know our schedules, our routes, our defenses. The attackers never identified themselves and their ships vanished before reinforcements could arrive. But their methods were unmistakably human, fast, decisive, and brilliantly planned. The 60-day deadline ended. The Galactic Council realized they had made a terrible mistake. They had not exiled humanity. They had set it free. 2 years after the exile vote, the Galactic Council convened in the most desperate emergency session in their history. Half of their territory was in chaos, their economy had collapsed, and their military was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they could not find or fight. The great assembly hall buzzed with angry voices and fearful whispers. Representatives from dozens of worlds argued loudly, while others sat in stunned silence. The once mighty council that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was falling apart. Council Speaker Vextar called for order, but his voice carried no authority anymore. Some delegates blamed him for the hasty exile decision. Others demanded immediate military action against the human threat, though no one could agree on how to fight an invisible enemy. The Zeridian delegate Krell Voss stood up and shouted, "We must negotiate with the humans before they destroy everything we have built." The Altarian representative Veltrak responded angrily, "Negotiate with terrorists, never. We should glass their homeworld and end this once and for all." But Admiral Koth Ra shook his head. "We tried to attack Earth 6 months ago. Our entire strike fleet was destroyed before it reached the Sol system. The humans have defenses we cannot penetrate." The debate continued for hours as representatives argued about solutions that would not work. The truth was that the Council had lost control of the situation. The humans had proven they could strike anywhere, at any time, and there was nothing the aliens could do to stop them. Then the great doors of the assembly hall opened, and a familiar figure walked in. Ambassador Yun-Woo entered the chamber, flanked by 2 human guards wearing armor that gleamed. With unknown technology, their presence caused immediate silence. The human ambassador looked exactly the same as he had 2 years earlier, when he had accepted the exile with such calm dignity. But now there was something different in his eyes, a confidence that had not been there before. "You seem to be having some difficulties," Hyun-Woo said calmly, his voice carrying clearly through the shocked silence. "Perhaps we should discuss terms, Council Speaker." Vex Tar stammered in confusion. You were exiled. You agreed to return to your home system. You cannot be here." "We did return to our home system," Hyun-Woo replied with a slight smile. "We just never said it was the only system we called home." He activated a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. The image showed the true extent of human expansion across the galaxy. Dozens of worlds, hundreds of installations, and thousands of ships appeared on the map, like stars suddenly becoming visible in the darkness. The alien delegates gasped in shock and horror. The humans had not been hiding for 2 years. They had been building an empire that stretched across half the galaxy. "You made several mistakes." Hyun-Woo continued, his voice still calm and reasonable. "You assumed that because we were willing to work within your system, we were dependent on it. You thought that because we preferred cooperation to conflict, we were incapable of war. You believed that because we accepted your authority, we had no other options." The holographic display changed to show the recent attacks on Council facilities. Each strike was marked with precise timing and devastating effectiveness. The pattern was clear and terrifying. "We have spent 2 years systematically dismantling your infrastructure," Hyun-Woo explained. "We have destroyed your supply lines, crippled your economy, and eliminated your military advantages. We have done this while remaining completely invisible to your sensors." Captain Jin A's voice came through the chambers. "Communication system from her command ship in orbit above the Council. Homeworld Galactic Council. This is the human independent fleet. We have your capital world surrounded. Your defense satellites have been disabled. Your orbital platforms are under our control." The holographic display showed the space around the planet. 50 human ships, sleek and deadly, held position around the world. The aliens' own sensors confirmed what they were seeing, but could hardly believe it. Admiral Koth Ra whispered, "This is impossible. Our planetary defenses are impenetrable. No fleet could approach undetected. Your defenses were designed with human assistance." Hyun-Woo reminded him, "We know every weakness, every blind spot, every way to turn your own systems against you. We helped build the very shields you trusted to protect you." The truth was even worse than the Admiral realized. The human ships had not just bypassed the planetary defenses, they had taken control of them. The weapons that were supposed to protect the Council world were now aimed at the surface commander. Du-Yoon reported from the lead assault ship. "All defensive systems are under our control. All orbital facilities have been captured. All escape routes are blocked." The aliens in the assembly hall looked around desperately for options, but there were none. The humans had achieved total tactical superiority without firing a single shot at the planet itself. Hyun-Woo continued his explanation. "We have spent decades learning your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. You taught us everything we needed to know, and then you gave us the motivation to use that knowledge against you." Engineer Tai-Ho transmitted from the human fleet. "Our manufacturing capacity now exceeds the entire galactic industrial base. Our ships are faster and stronger than anything in your fleet. Our weapons can penetrate any defense you possess." The scope of human preparation was staggering. They had not just built a few hidden bases, they had created an entire civilization that was technologically superior to anything the galaxy had ever seen. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Diplomat Yeon-Su appeared on the communication screen from her coordination center. "We have been in contact with 23 alien worlds that voted against your exile or refused to participate. Many of your own members have been secretly providing us with assistance." Ambassador Tor Vex of the Andromedan Collective stood up slowly. Our government officially opposed the Exile from the beginning. We have been providing intelligence and resources to the human resistance. We believe the Council made a grave error. Other alien delegates began to admit their own secret cooperation. Several worlds had been quietly helping human refugees and providing supplies to the resistance. The Council had not just lost to humanity, they had lost the loyalty of their own members. The galaxy was no longer united under Council authority. It was divided between those who still supported the old system and those who believed in the human vision of freedom and independence. Hyunwoo raised his hand for silence. "We offer you a choice," he announced. "You can surrender peacefully and negotiate a new arrangement where all species are treated as equals, not subjects, or you can continue to fight a war you cannot win against an enemy you cannot find." The Council speaker looked around the chamber at his fellow representatives. Fear and defeat were written on every alien face. The mighty galactic government that had ruled for centuries was being brought to its knees by a species they had dismissed as primitives. "What are your terms?" Vextar asked quietly, his voice barely audible. Hyunwoo smiled. "The exile is revoked immediately. Humans are granted full membership in a reformed galactic government based on cooperation, not domination. All species will have equal representation and equal rights. The Council system of alien superiority is ended forever. The terms were not negotiable. The humans had proven their point in the most decisive way possible. They had shown that they could destroy galactic civilization or transform it. The choice belonged to the aliens. Captain Jin added from her flagship, "We are not interested in conquest or revenge. We want partnership and mutual respect, but we will never again accept second-class status in our own galaxy A's." The negotiations began. One truth became clear to every being in the galaxy. The humans had been underestimated once, and the cost of that mistake had been catastrophic. The species that had been exiled for being too dangerous had proven that they were far more dangerous as enemies than they had ever been as reluctant allies. The galaxy would be rebuilt, but it would be built according to human principles of equality, freedom, and cooperation. The Council had wanted to remove the human threat. Instead, they had created human leadership. The exile had ended not with human surrender, but with human victory. The species that had been cast out had returned as conquerors who chose to be liberators instead. The age of galactic council dominance was over. The age of human influence had begun. 6 months after the exile vote, the Galactic Council was facing the worst crisis in their 1,000-year history. What had started as isolated system failures and mysterious raids had grown into galaxy-wide chaos that threatened the very foundation of their civilization. Council Speaker Vextar sat in his private office surrounded by stacks of crisis reports that seemed to grow larger every hour. His 4 silver arms moved frantically between different data pads as he tried to understand the scope of the disaster. Food production is down 60% across 24 worlds. His agricultural advisor reported trade routes are experiencing constant delays and massive losses. Military installations are struggling to maintain basic operations without human-designed systems. The speaker had called this emergency meeting to find solutions, but every report brought worse news. The removal of humans had created a cascade of problems that no one had anticipated. Admiral Kothra of the Galactic Fleet delivered the most embarrassing revelation. "Sir, we have discovered that 70% of our most advanced ships contain human modifications that we do not fully understand. Without human engineers to maintain these systems, our fleet effectiveness has dropped by half." The Admiral continued, "Our weapons systems use human targeting software. Our shields operate on human-designed algorithms. Our communication networks rely on human protocols. We thought we were using our own technology, but we were actually dependent on human improvements." General Nuldan of Planetary Defense Forces had equally disturbing news to report. "Our defensive installations on 40 worlds are failing. The humans did not just work on these systems, they redesigned them completely. We cannot repair or maintain equipment that we do not understand." The aliens had made a fundamental error in understanding their relationship with humanity. They had assumed that humans were just workers following alien instructions. In reality, humans had been innovators who had quietly improved every system they touched. Economic advisor Mel Core delivered the financial reports with shaking hands. "Sir, the galactic economy is in free fall. Without human-managed trade routes, cargo, losses have increased by 300%. Without human agricultural techniques, food prices have doubled. Without human manufacturing improvements, production costs have tripled." The speaker felt sick as he realized the true scope of their mistake. The humans had not just been employees in galactic civilization. They had been the invisible force that made everything work efficiently. But the economic problems were nothing compared to the military crisis that was unfolding. The mysterious attacks on council facilities had escalated from isolated raids to coordinated campaigns that were systematically destroying galactic infrastructure. Defense Minister Kulvex presented the latest attack reports with obvious fear in his voice. The raiders destroyed Central Supply Depot 9 yesterday, taking all weapons and equipment before vanishing. They hit Communications Hub 7 last week, completely cutting off 3 star systems. They eliminated Research Station 12, removing 20 years of scientific data. General Newell Dan studied the attack patterns on his holographic display. "These are not random strikes," he concluded. "The attackers know exactly which targets will cause maximum damage to our operations. They have detailed intelligence about our facilities, our schedules, our weaknesses." The most disturbing aspect of the attacks was the technology being used. The raiders employed stealth systems that were invisible to galactic sensors, weapons that could penetrate any defense, and tactics that seemed to anticipate every counter-move. Admiral Koth Ra had been trying to track the attackers for months without success. Their ships appear from nowhere, strike with perfect precision, and disappear before we can respond. We have never even gotten a clear scan of their vessel designs. The truth was that Captain Unji was coordinating the attacks from her hidden command center, using intelligence gathered over decades of human integration into galactic society. Her raiders knew every weakness because humans had helped build most of the systems they were now destroying. "Strike Team Beta. This is Ghost Command," she transmitted to a squadron of human attack ships. "Your target is Military Depot. 47 intelligence reports. They store advanced fighter craft that we can use for our own fleet commander." Du Yun led the assault team that approached the depot using stealth technology that was generations ahead of anything the Council possessed. The facility defense systems had been designed with human input 15 years earlier, and Du Yun knew every vulnerability. Approaching target, he reported to his team, "Remember, we built these defenses so we know exactly how to bypass them." The attack was swift and devastating. The human raiders disabled the depot defenses, captured 50 advanced fighter craft, and destroyed the facility before disappearing into the void. The entire operation took less than 20 minutes. Mission accomplished. Do Yoon reported to Ghost. Command, all equipment secured. No alien survivors to report our involvement. Similar attacks were happening across the galaxy as human strike teams systematically dismantled the military infrastructure that protected Council worlds. The raiders seemed to know exactly where to hit and when to strike for maximum effect. But the most shocking discovery came when Council intelligence finally managed to analyze wreckage from one of the raider ships. Engineer specialist Vec Moll presented his findings to an emergency council session. "The technology in this debris is unlike anything we have ever seen," he reported. "The materials are familiar, but the design principles are completely foreign. The ship appears to be built using our own technology, but improved far beyond our capabilities." Admiral Koth Ra examined the data with growing horror. "This suggests that our attackers have been studying our technology for decades and have developed improvements that we cannot match." The implication was terrifying. The mysterious raiders were not using unknown alien technology. They were using human-improved versions of galactic systems. The humans had been learning galactic science for decades and had now surpassed their teachers. Meanwhile, reports were coming in from across the galaxy of alien worlds beginning to question the Exile decision. The economic chaos and military attacks were causing widespread unrest. Ambassador Kil Mayer of the Peaceful Worlds Alliance spoke publicly about growing concerns. In his government, perhaps we were too hasty in our decision to exile humanity. The current crisis suggests that we may have created a much larger problem. Other alien leaders were privately expressing similar doubts. Ambassador Zultek of the Saurian Empire sent a secret message to the Council requesting a review of the exile decision. The attacks on our supply lines are crippling our economy, he wrote. We must consider that we may have made an error, but the most disturbing intelligence came from the Andromedan Collective. Ambassador Tor Vex reported that several alien species were secretly providing assistance to human refugees and possibly to the attackers themselves. There is growing sympathy for the human cause. He admitted, some believe the exile was unjust and are willing to help humanity in whatever way they can. The Council was beginning to realize that they had not just exiled humanity, they had created a resistance movement that was supported by some of their own members. The galaxy was dividing into those who supported the Council and those who believed the humans had been wronged. As the crisis deepened, some counselors began to suggest that they should attempt to negotiate with the humans. But how could they negotiate with people who had vanished without a trace? The humans had officially returned to Earth, but the attacks were clearly coming from elsewhere. Intelligence reports confirmed that Earth appeared quiet with normal activity around the home system, but long-range scans could not detect the massive military infrastructure that would be needed to coordinate the galaxy-wide attacks. Council Speaker Vex Tar faced the most difficult decision of his career. The Council had voted to exile humanity, believing it would solve their problems. Instead, they had unleashed a force that was systematically destroying galactic civilization. The humans had proven that they were far more dangerous as enemies than they had ever been as reluctant members of galactic society. The Council had wanted to remove a threat, but they had created something much worse. As reports of new attacks arrived every day, the truth became impossible to ignore. The Council had made the greatest strategic error in galactic history. They had taken a species that preferred cooperation and forced them to become masters of war. The exile vote had been meant to protect galactic peace. Instead, it had started a conflict that the Council was clearly losing. The humans were no longer trying to fit into galactic civilization. They were building something new, and they were using everything they had learned to tear down the old order. The galaxy would never be the same again.